Well, I get to interview one of my friends today. Elisa and I actually went to high school together. However, we were in a different classes, but we reconnected and then had another season apart and then reconnected again. And it's really fun the way that the Father has had us kind of chase each other around and how literally this life has brought us back together. Those of you who do not know Elisa Rangel, I just want to tell you a little bit about her. Elisa she's been married for 37 years and has a powerful testimony about her marriage. For another time, we'll have to have her back for just that. 3 children and 6 grandchildren. She's been in leadership for more than 20 years. You may know her from the branch in Colorado Springs. She used to book tours in Israel, or she's just taken a sabbatical because we're going to try to get her back doing that. Leading family and marriage ministries, starting home communities. Her passion is ministering to women and researching and traveling. And she's about to leave for Israel. And she has been walking Torah for 2008. Hello, Miss Elisa.
Hello, how are you?
So good. I'm glad you're here. I'm so excited. I want you to tell everyone a little bit about how you came. How did you kind of get awakened to Torah?
Oh my. Well, actually I got awakened to Torah by booking trips to Israel. And I met a man there. His name is Rabbi Moshe. He's got a shop at Shorshim in the middle of Old City, Colorado. And he's still there. In fact, I just saw him on my last trip. But he started talking to me about Jesus. And he's like, do you know what his real name is? And I'm like, no, what's his real name? It's all Yeshua. I'm like, oh. And I thought as a Jewish person, I thought he was Messianic and believing in Yeshua. And he said, well, I do believe in Yeshua. I believe he was a good rabbi. I don't believe he is God. I'm like, what? He goes, but he was a very Torah observant rabbi, a Jew. I'm like, a Jew? What do you mean? I was like so stunned because, I'd only been in Christianity for about 6 years at that point. And, I was late bloomer. I didn't come to the Lord till I was 30. But I was like, what? So he just really challenged me just to kind of like, well, what is the law? I'm like, what do you mean by Torah? He goes, well, it means law, but it really means like instruction, kind of like your father, when you grew up, he gave you instructions, right? Things that would help protect you, things that would give you long life. I'm like, okay. It's like that. That's what Torah is. He goes, but Torah is really all about the heart. So I was like, the heart? Like, I was so confused. I'm like, okay. So I came back to the States and I was on staff at Calvary Chapel, Oceanside. And I just started digging into my Bible. And he would email me and just ask me, like, okay, so did you read all of Genesis? I'm like, I did. I'm like, he goes, okay, did you read all of Exodus? I'm like, I did. He goes, do you have any questions? I'm like, yes. And so I was just asking him all these different questions about different things, like, okay, what does it mean here about Torah? And, what does it mean here when he's talking about Moses and God's telling him like to obey the commands? Like, I had all these questions and he was so just really patient with me as I'm, just trying to unfold everything. And then I happened to meet a couple in San Diego. Eric and Holly was their name. And they were following Torah. And so I just started kind of hanging out with them. I'm like, what? Okay, so I've been talking to this one guy, rabbi, but he doesn't believe Jesus is God, but he does believe that Jesus was a law-abiding rabbi. I'm like, and I have all these questions. So I just kind of started hanging out with them and just learning just so much. Like, I almost felt like it was a fire hydrant in the beginning, but that was kind of like my quick way of coming into Torah. And it's been a lifelong journey since 2008.
I'm sure it looks different. Did you find yourself going through cycles, like extremes at all in that process?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I first was like, this is in the Bible. Like I told you, I'm like, oh my God, like we don't do this. Like this says forever. Like it says this is an eternal covenant. Like, how come we're not doing this? So my job was all, well, honey, let's just do it. I'm like, okay. So the first thing I decided to do was Passover. And so I Googled, like, okay, so how do we do Passover? I have no idea how to do Passover. And so I went out and spent like $1,000. I bought new pots and pans, new, utensils, plates, cups. I mean, the whole shebang, because I didn't know anything about following. I just Googled, how do you keep Passover? So I just listened to, these different websites. And so I went and bought all this stuff. But my first Passover had 18 people.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I went big, right? And 18 people and like 3 hours. The poor kids were so full on matzah because we hadn't eaten yet. And, but it was such a beautiful time of just really learning. And honestly, my journey, what I love is I learned a lot of things probably the wrong way, listening, going to Google and just listening to different people. But I honestly, it was so good because it just helped me to weed out a lot of things. It just really helped me to get in tune with my Bible. Like I'm all, oh my gosh, it doesn't say that here.
Mm.
I'm like, okay. So what exactly does it say? How do I actually keep this? And over the years, I would say the first 10 years, there was something we were doing different for Passover every year. Adding things, removing things. Adding things, removing things.
Yeah.
And then the last thing we came into was Shabbat, believe it or not. 2 years later, then we started keeping not only all the feasts, but then we started keeping Sabbath. And so that too was just a learning curve, learning. I like having to, I love the prayers, I love lighting candles, but I kind of had to play around with that too, because I was like, wow, where is this written in the word?
Mm.
Beautiful, beautiful traditions, and I love them, and I still do some of them today. But when I actually had to look at the word, I'm like, it actually doesn't say anything about lighting candles. What does it really mean to keep the Sabbath according to scripture? So it's just been a beautiful journey of just how the fathers met me, and being able to see, okay, well, maybe I didn't do that, or maybe I didn't do this, but I didn't know this. Oh, and then look at this, and just finding all these new nuggets, and just being able to walk um, haphazardly. And he's been so gracious to, just bring me along and just show me all these different things. I'm like, oh, Father, thank you. It's been beautiful. I
I
wouldn't change.
love that. And I love that Passover was your first, because that was the same for me. It's actually how he found me, was in, Passover and Easter were 3 weeks apart. And I was like, are they 3 weeks apart? And I was preparing to teach the congregation I was pastoring. And it was like, why are they 3 weeks apart? And that started my journey, back in the day before we had, you could go online and look everything up. I had to actually like go to the library and like find books and things. But then full circle, it comes back around, and I actually honored Passover and actually did a Seder in my home. And there was like 8 of us, and we didn't know that you're supposed to use tiny little wine glasses. So we used big giant wine glasses. And by the time we get to the next cup, we're like, well, we're not done with this one. And we're like doing wine shots, like trying to hurry up so we could get to like the next thing. And it ends up everyone is like, tipsy by the time we're done with ready to eat. But we were crying. We were like, oh, Jesus, like it was like, but I will say it was probably the most beautiful holiday I've ever had. That holy day was so amazing. And that time was so amazing, because just the testimony of who Yeshua was, who he was in our lives. We can giggle now about the wine, but before that, we were just really overwhelmed at him being the Passover lamb, and how he revealed to us first in his word about being Savior, right?
Isn't that beautiful? But
Yeah.
look at how beautiful that is. Like all the mistakes that we made, and I love that our God will actually honor where you're at.
Yes.
Wherever you come in and you learn, and you just learn different things. And honestly, I think every person has to find how they want to be able to do it. Because if
Yeah.
anything, when reading through the scriptures, I found, he doesn't give a lot of details for certain festivals. And I really believe he gives people a lot of freedom for what the things that they actually want to incorporate and the things they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got like you, we've played both sides, even with Sabbath. We did all
Yeah,
the calendars and then we didn't do it. We're like, nope, just what the word says. And then
right.
we came back. Now we're finding the way to beautify Torah is actually by for us, lighting candles helps us distinguish between the two,
It
saying the
does.
prayers. I mean, we've had Shabbat together a couple times
Right.
um with our husbands and just saying those prayers and praying over each other. We have found that that affirming one another in the word. The world's trying to do it by speaking affirmations. We already are affirmed and we're just speaking the word over each other. And it's for my marriage, I would say that it's been life-changing. So you talk about things being kind of fun. And do you have any funny stories about what kind of got messy in this process as you were learning?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would have to say the messiest one was I think it was like our first I know it was probably like a third or fourth time doing Sabbath. And we too were doing the blessings for the wine. And we're just trying to get this thing done. So as we're pouring the blessing, right, I'm not knowing what I'm doing. I'm trying to keep this, this instruction sheet out, and I'm reading it. I'm like, okay, wait, we have to say the prayers, because I really wanted to do them in Hebrew also. So I was like trying to get this done, and I'm just butchering the whole thing, and I spill wine. We had people over, of course, and so I'm trying to pick this up, and I hit Joe's kiddish cup, and then it spills, it goes all over the bread. I actually made it, but it was a small little loaf. And so the challah got soaked in the wine. And so then it was all over the table. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sorry, hold on. And I'm trying to get everything. And people are just looking at me because I thought, oh, I could invite these, some Christian friends over, and they were coming over to see Sabbath. And I was like so excited. And it just got all literally wet and muddled. But again, I think it was just so beautiful that I got to figure it out and be like, okay, hold on. I'm like, I get so focused on trying to do things right that I forget to be present.
Mm.
And I really feel like that's been kind of a journey. And, for me over the last like 10 years, things don't have to be perfect. I just have to be present. And I really think the Father honors that. Right.
Absolutely. I found that in a moment when I was praying and going over the scripture and the story with Mary and Martha, he was showing me that it wasn't that she was busy. It wasn't that she was getting work done. It was that she wasn't present, because you can be marrying while you Martha. Like
Yeah.
she had her in my little experience. It doesn't say this anywhere in the word, but for my experience, when I was kind of in this immersion with him, she had her back to him, and but Mary was like right there at his feet, and she was right there. She was present. And all Martha had to do is just be present. She could be working and present, but instead she was so focused on the tasks that she forgot about the most important thing to be present for. And I know that one of the things that you and I talk about this all the time is about first ministry, about being present, about what's really important. Do you want to share a little bit about that, kind of your heart in that area?
Mm, being present. Oh my goodness. Well, I feel like one of the things he's really taught me is just, um, I didn't think of it was like perfection. I just always thought I was, I'm a multitasker. So I'm just trying to do all of these things, right? But the
Mhm.
problem is over the years, I feel like I've gotten so busy with doing so many things, especially as a leader. I think you can probably attest to this, that you've got 5 or 6 things you're juggling, right, and you're trying to get all this stuff done. You've got time frames, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get that done, and you come home and you do stuff with family. But I felt like what the Father was saying is like, you're so busy, and you're busy trying to do things for me, and he loves that. But he's like, but I actually would love more for you to learn how to be present and let go of the perfection. And I was like, perfection? I really? Well, I don't think I'm trying to be perfect, am I? He's like, well, perfection with a little bit of control, maybe. So it's like, oh my goodness. Okay, well, what does that actually look like? So I feel like the last couple of years, especially, it's just been detangling a lot of things and really finding out where I'm supposed to be, learning how to really be present. Whether I'm
Yeah.
home with my husband, or home with or out with my adult children, or with my grandchildren, or in ministry. Like, I
Yes.
want to learn to really be present with people, because that's really what God cares about. and so I'm like, okay, Father, I really have to learn how to do these things because I really didn't know how. And so really learning how to say no, and I
Yeah.
love your phrase that I've coined a couple of times if I'm confessing, it's like not my best yes. So I really feel like, I'm going to have to pass on that this round.
Yeah. That's hard to
Right.
say though, right? It's hard to say, but you know that for you to be able to be present and to be your best for that person, or for if you say yes to this, I'm going to have to say no to something else. And it has to be worth it. Like, it not worth it, meaning like it just means to
Yeah.
be, it needs to be like, if I'm going to say yes to you, I know I'm probably saying yes to no to my husband or my grandchildren or something. So it needs to be okay for me to be able to say, there needs to be it needs to be something that's worth it for me to say no to them. Whatever I'm
Right.
saying yes to better be aligning with what he's wanting. It's because I need to spend time with you, whatever it is. But I know that doesn't keep coming across the way I want it to, but it's just, we just know, like, if he's sitting in it and the father's going to say no, sometimes he's going to say no. You need to say no for a while. It's a season of no.
Yeah. There
And
is this.
that's not bad. It's just, you need to be present. So I noticed that you're sitting in your home office. I want to ask you some rapid fire questions. What's your favorite thing in your home office?
In my home office,
In your office right there. What's your favorite thing?
my bed.
I have slept on that bed. It is a great bed. Yeah. Okay.
Um, well, yeah, it's my favorite because I do a lot of um, alone time with Abba. So I will actually part from my husband, every maybe, I don't know, 6, 9 weeks, somewhere around there, just to decompress and have some alone, quiet time where the dogs aren't in here, the family's not coming in here because they know, like, hey, I'm going to have a little retreat time. This is where I can come and just, listen to soaking music or just listening to the word, journaling, asking questions. So I love my quiet time. So
To
I
be
would say
present.
it is.
Bed is the place for you to be present. Okay. So what fact about you might surprise people who have never met you in real life?
What fact? Oh my
Might
God.
surprise people about you.
What fact? Okay. Man, that's a difficult one. Okay. I'm like trying to think what fact would surprise people. Um, Gosh, you might have to come back to me on
I'll
that
come
one.
back to that. It's no big,
What
yeah, it's
fact?
good.
Yeah, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I pulled a hard one and I pulled a hard one out for you. Is your personal bed made right now?
No.
What is your favorite holiday food or holy day food?
Holiday food? Oh my gosh. Well, really, every Sabbath, my favorite is challah bread.
Ooh, yeah.
I could just take a half a loaf and just go alone with it, butter, honey. Oh my God. I
I'm
don't think
just gonna
anything.
say it happened this weekend. I was like, oh my gosh, I made some with apple and like cinnamon and butter and brown sugar over the top of it for Rosh Hashanah, and it was like we ate the whole thing. I don't even know what to say.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
so
kind of embarrassed to admit that. I'm like, oh my
right.
God.
Yeah, I don't even know. So would you rather have regret about actions or regret about inactions?
Oh, that's a good one. Regret about inaction.
Or action?
I would say inaction.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have been my guess for you too. If
Yeah.
your doggies, which you have 3 sweet babies, if your doggies could talk, what do you think that they would say about you?
Oh my God. Lady, where are you going now?
They love going bye-bye with you. By the
Oh,
way,
they
we
do.
just got our doggy seat. It just came, our doggy
You
thing.
do?
Yeah, we
Oh,
just got it. That's
awesome.
funny. If for those of you have to see them because they follow her around the house when she's getting ready to go.
Because they want to go with me. And right now it's so hot they can't. But I'm like, every time I turn around, he's like, where are you going now? My God. And now we got the suitcases out because we're getting ready to leave for Israel. And he's like depressed.
Oh, oh no. Okay, so here's the one, and I think I know the answer. Do you have street smarts or book smarts?
Probably more street smarts.
I was gonna say both because I know what a studier you are.
I was gonna say both too. I would say naturally more street smarts, but I do, yeah, I'm a bookworm. I'm a nerd that way. I really am.
You can get Winchester on us, huh? Don't make her get Winchester.
Very
Don't
true.
make
Like,
her
what'd you
Winchester.
say?
What? What? Yeah.
What?
Would you rather sleep in late or take a long nap later?
Sleeping late. I'm a sleep-in girl.
I like both of our husbands get up early and we're like, what?
Yeah, Joe's like such an early riser.
Shut the door.
Don't open the blinds.
This one's gonna be kind of might be a hard one. I want to know whose death in your life hit you the hardest.
Ooh, whose death? I would have to say my, honestly, my grandfather. My real dad has passed away, but my dad was absent a lot. We connected more as I grew older. But I really didn't know him that well. He wasn't like a really steady figure. I had daddy issues big time, but my grandfather was always there.
Mhm.
Grandpa was always there.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, he used to spoil me rotten. So when he passed, actually he passed away in our home. So
Oh,
we did hospice with him.
that's the one thing many of you don't know, right? Is that Elisa has a sweet, sweet heart for caregiving for her family. And my last question is,
Mm.
what is your favorite spot in Israel to go to?
Oh, okay, it's a tie.
Okay.
Okay, so two of my favorite spots, believe it or not, one is in the Sea of Galilee. There's a jetty at a place called Naf Ginnasar Kibbutz. If nobody has been there, I would say always book your trips there to stay on the Sea of Galilee. It's an amazing kibbutz. The food is amazing, but it's one of the only places I know that you can actually, like, it's beach. Like, you can just walk out onto the water and swim, or you can sit at the end of the jetty. And at 5:20 in the morning, watching the sun come up on the east over the Sea of Galilee, and it's quiet. It's just me and him. My favorite. Second favorite, which is equally just as tie, is in the old city. It's actually just sitting in a lot of people go, not the wall, like the Western Wall. The Western Wall is very beautiful, but I love sitting in the center of the old city in just the like the cargo area, watching just all these groups of people, because that's where they do like the bar mitzvahs, if they do the weddings where the bride and groom are coming down off of, from wherever they live in the old city, coming down to meet. It's just full of people, and it's just such a beautiful thing to watch how different cultures interact. It's one of my favorite places to just sit and people watch.
I love that. So cool. So now you all have those written down. I'll make sure they're in the show notes so that you all know those places, especially for the kibbutz. I'll try to get the link from Elisa so you guys can go sneak it and
I
add it
can
to your next trip. Okay, so thank you for hanging out with us. Any parting words, especially for those who maybe are brand new, and this is all like sometimes feels like that fire hose, and there's so much. Maybe they feel lied to. Why didn't someone finally tell me this? Why? All of a sudden it comes alive. Do you have any parting words?
Mm. I would say don't get too caught up in anger. Just be thankful and be observant. Wherever he's asking you to go, just go. And just when reading the word, he says that when you look for him with your whole heart, you will find him.
Hmm.
Keep searching.
Amen. That's good. Thank you.
Thank
Love,
you.
love
I'm
you.
so excited. Love you.